Welcome to the Engineering Seed Podcast.
Thank you for joining the Engineering Seed Podcast. I guess it's predominantly for younger engineers, and I'm really keen for this as well because I got into engineering originally when Tesla was becoming popular to design electric cars. So it's just really awesome to see that manufacturing, especially electric cars, could be happening again in Australia, or will be happening again in Australia.
Well, that's good. I see your passion there, Declan, and you know we wouldn't even be doing this if it hadn't been for Elon Musk and his imagination and his determination to do
it. Yeah. Could you maybe give a brief background about yourself and how you got into the renewable and now this electric vehicle space?
Yeah, not a worry. I'm a marine biologist and been involved over the last 30 or 40 years in lots of different projects, setting up organisations that have got an environmental focus. The key thing is the globe doesn't recognise how important our oceans are. They provide our oxygen and they also moderate the living temperatures on Earth. So it's not going to be an environmental talk, but that's where I've come from. And we have been setting up a solar farm, and that sort of went a bit quiet, but we're focusing on that again after we get the EV going. We were introduced actually to Dr. Charles Kung by one of our partners in the solar farm, and it's turned out very beneficial because Charles has got a partnership with Gerhard Kerr, and Gerhard's modest. He calls himself a mechanic, but he actually started up the FRP division for Benz, and I think he's probably one of the world global leaders in 100% composite manufacturing technology.
Wow.
The secret behind that composite technology is one, it's light. Two, it takes about a third the energy to actually build a vehicle. And they're two pluses that I think are important. The other one is that the vehicle can be adapted and changed very quickly, in a 20-month time period. And so between Charles and Gerhard was originally involved with the smart car with Ernst Tomka. So if you have a look at our vehicle, you can see some of those original genetics.
Yeah.
He teamed up with Charles about 6 years ago. Charles, no slouch, Dr. Charles Kung, is a nuclear engineer. He was the chief engineer for the high-speed rail in Taiwan and also one of the leading directors of the vehicle manufacturing in Taiwan, and they produced components for Toyota. So the genetics behind us, very strong, and I would only be persisting with this in Australia because of that. And they're our key technical partners, and the model we have for our business is actually export.
Okay.
Only look about 30% here in Australia.
Wow.
We're doing it in Australia because the idea came when I was flown overseas by the Asia Development Bank. They wanted to see what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I said, why? They said, Greg, anything made in Australia, 20 to 30% premium in terms of recognition and brand. And it makes it easier to have that assembled and manufactured offshore.
Yeah.
So the reason, and we're not daunted by it because Germany, expensive country, it's got a vehicle industry. A lot of other places have too, and Australia should have something similar. The difference between us and most of the auto manufacturers is we're actually manufacturing smart batteries.
Okay.
Our vehicle's more like a smartphone with wheels and seats, and so it's expensive to run around, and it can provide energy management services.
Okay. So did you say that you manufacture the battery in Australia as well?
It'll be assembled in Australia at the start, and then down the track, once we've got decent supply, we'd like to do a complete manufacture here. But that's probably 5 years, 10 years away.
Yeah. Okay. Is that are you going to try and get involved? Isn't there a battery manufacturing plant happening up in Queensland?
There's lots of things being proposed. And different stages we've been contacted.
Yeah.
And between what's proposed and what's reality, there's a little bit of a gap.
Yeah. Okay.
We've been trying to fill that for the last 4 years to the point now where we're shovel ready, and we're expecting actually to begin the factory infrastructure and build next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Production toward the end of next year.
For the vehicle or for the
vehicle?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Battery and vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to adjust this slightly.
Okay.
Could you maybe talk about the business? Do you design it in Australia as well? Is that done in South Australia or Queensland?
That's a good question, Declan. And what we've done is we've taken a low-risk approach. The very first vehicle, as you're probably aware, was assembled in Brisbane in a workshop at the MTAQ, the Motor Trade Station. And that was built over 6 days. We flew in a mechatronic engineer from Germany, discovered he couldn't speak English, so we organised a local engineer that spoke English and German, and they worked together. No instructions. They built the vehicle over 6 days, and then Ollie drove it out, very first drive out of the workshop. I videoed it, put it on LinkedIn, 21,000 views over 5 days. So I thought,
wow.
And we know we are, because it's just a clever machine. It's very light, nimble, and it's affordable. And that's the reason we're looking at a 70% overseas market. We've already got some agreements being put in place offshore.
Yep.
And it's critical now that we get things going here in Australia.
Yep. So sorry, did you say that are you designing it in Australia, or is it an existing?
No, sorry about that. The Series 3 that we've got at the moment, which you've seen on the website, the Cargo Urban, they're pre-designed. We're setting up a design studio as part of the factory in South Australia, and already got people committed to help us out there.
Wow.
Effectively, our vehicle is a long life vehicle. The two parts that are unique, the skeleton, which a lot of people in the auto industry call a chassis, but the skeleton, 14 bones chemically welded together, and that structure is 2 to 3 times stronger than the equivalent in metal. And then it's skinned, and the advantage is that that skeleton can last 15, 20 longer years. If you get sick of the look of the appearance of the vehicle, you change the skins, as long as it doesn't impact the ANCAP rating. So we're going to be looking for clever people, and there's lots of them in Australia, with good ideas, because the vehicle as it is a takeoff of the original smart car, and we're looking at doing changes that suit various markets.
Yep. So it looks like that the platform is pretty consistent. Like you have one set design with different skins. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's
going to be how you do it in the future as well.
Yes. The important thing will be that whatever we do, and the things we hook off the skeleton or the skins, as long as it doesn't impact the safety rating. And there we've got an MOU in place now, Send Networks, and they're going to give our vehicle a brain. And so we'll have collision avoidance systems and a lot of other clever stuff in it as well.
Yeah. And I think the idea of having a consistent chassis is fantastic, to be honest. So does that mean that this factory and this design studio will be happening around 2022?
Everything should be well in place by 2022.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
But we've got a very clever team, global team already. Our CTO is in Paris, and he'll be relocating to Australia. So in fact, what we're doing is we're bringing a lot of the offshore brains of Australia back to Australia.
Yeah.
This process, and for yourself and other people, we're looking for young, clever, passionate engineers down the track.
That's very exciting. How did the company come about then? Was it a brainchild of many different people, or?
There's two of us that originally owned it, myself and Will. And Will and I decided on ACE, Australian Clean Energy Electric Vehicles, because we thought that tied in with the solar farm play. And down the track, what we were doing is offering with our vehicle an energy plan, a bit like a mobile phone plan. So you effectively buy your energy for 5 years, and
Wow.
your operating costs very inexpensive.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So what sort of industries are you looking for in Australia? That, like, where do you see it being used in Australia? Is it mainly personal use, or?
It's another good question, and we were a bit concerned at start when Charles and Gerhard said, no, light commercial, last mile delivery, that's the secret, and they're right. There's, at the moment, and it'll happen, but at the moment there's not a lot of other players in that market. And as I said, we're looking at it as an affordable vehicle. So in effect, we can set up assembly pods overseas, which are almost like a pop-up auto, inexpensively, and those overseas countries can build their own vehicles, saves them importing vehicles, and it also stops them having to import oils. And the double benefit of that, of course, is they clean up their cities and health problems diminish. So there's lots of costs that go out of the normal country's operating systems that are there at the moment.
Do you see, how big do you see ACE becoming in the next couple of years with the design studio and the amount of people that you're going to be having in Australia?
Look, the projections we've done, and we're trying to be conservative, but I think we're going to get blown away when it does take off. We're looking at, by 2025, only 24,000 vehicles, which is a third what was coming out of Holden when they were active here in Australia. And about 350 people working in the business. But I'm expecting that what will happen is once we've established it, it'll go crazy. Particularly the overseas interest. I mean, we're getting more interest from overseas at the moment, and it's embarrassing in some cases. We've got offshore countries that have got a better policy in place for EVs than we currently have here.
Can we talk maybe a couple of tech specs about the vehicle? Yeah, could you maybe give a brief overview on distance, the range, and speeds and like that?
The ACE Cargo, for a start.
Yep.
1,000 kilo. It's with the battery in it.
Sorry, how many? What?
1,000 kilo.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, if we're really accurate, I think it's 1,005. But who's going to argue about the 5? And the other thing is the battery. Cleverly set up. It's a dropout pack, so that we can run a 30 kilowatt hour battery right up to 60. Just really on the choice of the people. And the other benefit with it is that its range is 12 to 14 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. So effectively, that means if you've got a 30 kilowatt battery, you've got about 150 kilometres out of that battery. But the reality is, and as most people probably aren't aware, but it soon comes home, most people don't drive more than about 38 kilometres a day. And most people fill their car up at the petrol station once a week. The big advantage with our vehicle is you take it home at night, plug it in like your mobile phone, full next morning, away you go.
Yep. Fantastic. And is there a central motor to it, or is it in the wheels, or what is that?
The other clever design about the vehicle is that all the powertrain, wheels, suspension are off the shelf. So what that means is that if you've got a breakdown, say in the back of Africa somewhere, you just go to your nearest Volkswagen dealer or wherever else and get the componentry. So it's not an exclusive component to it. The only smart part about it, or one of the smart parts, is the, as I said, the 100% composite structure with a skeleton and skins, plus our ecosystem, the software ecosystem that runs it.
Okay, fantastic. What sort of people, and are there any particular things that you look in for people when you're hiring? I know it's probably a bit early to tell, but maybe you've had experience with engineers before.
Well, we've been approached. We've got a folder full of CVs at the moment.
Yeah.
Been approached by some of the cleverest around the globe, and as I said, we've set up maybe I haven't mentioned it to you, we've set up a design studio group in South Australia, and as new people come through, and they'll be introduced to that. So what we're seeking is the best, the cleverest, and the people that, if something goes wrong, they don't blame someone else. They just sort of pitch in and make it work. Because the obvious thing will be in the startup phase with what we're doing, everyone's got to be passionate and willing to just do a bit extra and make it work. Because we're on an exciting journey, and great for Australia if we can get more Australians involved in it.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the, I guess I get a bit sad when I just see that the biggest thing that we do is just export our minerals, and we really struggle to export a lot of our innovation, or as much as we can. You know, we're pretty good in the medical sector and other niche markets, but it's just very unfortunate to see all the manufacturing go. So it's just really good to hear and great to see that it's coming hopefully back over time.
Yeah, well, and it's smart manufacturing, and clever, and we've already got agreements signed with universities, and they're working on specific projects tied to what we're doing.
Wow.
And like capability with one university, we're working on a photovoltaic, colour photovoltaics, high yield photovoltaics. So essentially down the track, you might expect that you could skin the car with the photovoltaics, not realise they're photovoltaics because it's colour, and you're picking up 50 kilometres a day free from the sun.
Yeah, wow. Well, that's really exciting to hear. It'll be great to maybe talk again in a while when, the car's on the market. Actually, did you mention when that will happen?
Yeah, well, what we've done, Declan, we're using, again, the Tesla model to keep costs, contain costs. So effectively, if you want one of our vehicles, the only way you're going to get it is go online and reserve a vehicle, and that locks you in then to the order process later on.
Yeah.
We've only got 100 utes and 100 cargoes available in the first tranche of the build, and early next year, the urban will be going online as well.
Okay, great. I'm very excited to see about that, and to see how this manufacturing happens in South Australia, especially that you mentioned it's smart. It's going to be really exciting to see what that looks like as well. Yeah.
Thanks. Really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you.